All right, everyone, this is Ash. Welcome back to the King's Speech. So it's been a long day. I finally managed to get back in time to record some reactions. I've been doing my best to avoid Twitter and try to avoid seeing what everyone else thought of the chapter and everything else that went on. I did catch a few glimpses, so it looks like there are some mixed reactions, so it should be interesting getting into this chapter. Before we get into it, I want to thank all the trolls last week who got super pissed off with my reaction and my opinions and started downvoting my videos. I appreciate it a lot because I got a lot more views on those videos because of it. So keep it up. I'm sure you'll find reasons to get mad at me for this week's chapter as well. So without further ado, let us dive into One Piece chapter 972. I am Oden, and I was born to boil. And we have a color page, which looks like it's a crossover collaboration with the Hungry Days Noodle Cup ad. So you got the Straw Hats drawn by Oda, with their Noodle Cup counterparts posing in the background. I like the color page. It's very nice and whimsical. Not much more to say about it. So of course we have translation by Stephen Paul, lettering by Vanessa Satone. So we have Shinobu. Oh no, we have the citizens reacting to Shinobu's shocking announcement from last chapter, where they go, "So, Lord Oden's been keeping us safe all this time?" This is so bad. Oh boy, this is gonna be bad, I can already tell. You can't just reveal all this stuff right now. It's too much for my emotions! My emotions! And you have the ninja leader Fukurojo, I think it was, coming up from behind Shinobu and grabbing her hand as he goes, the truth will only cause confusion, Shinobu. All they need to know is that the fool of a lord who defied the shogun will die. The execution will eventually finish, and that will be the lasting message. And so Shinobu angrily goes, Fukurokuju. And he goes, I'm sure you knew that speaking up would come at a great cost. And Shinobu goes, I've decided to join my fate to theirs, life or death. I am Lord Oden's vassal. I will not follow you. Anything should happen to them, then I will die along with Kozuki. And she goes, but it won't come to that. We'll all survive this and we'll strike you down. And he just gives that face, that smug, shit-eating grin face, as he goes, hey, in your dreams. I feel like his forehead is not as big as it was in the present. Some of the citizens are going up to Shogun Orochi. Shogun Orochi, please stop this execution. I beg of you. I beseech you too. And me. And you see a shunk, shunk, shunk as a bunch of arrows come in and start piercing into them. And they go, ah, eek! They've been shot with arrows. We must help them. So you see what looks like some of Fukurojo's assassins. How ninja assassins are off to the side shooting the arrows with the heck. And Shinobu's going, Orochi! And then you see Orochi making his angry face as the narrator goes. The crowd instantly understood the threat a madman bent on revenge posed to them as he goes, silence, trash. They realize that the man undergoing the extended execution they've been watching was in fact the one shining hope for Wano. And you see as Oden's still doing his best Atlas pose, his scouts going, Lord Oden, Lord Oden! And they go, the people suddenly noticed they were surrounded by Kaido and Orochi's men, bristling with weapons. The reason for Oden's 5-year stretch of odd behavior spread throughout the crowd like wildfire. And the citizens are like, then he was actually saving us? And they go, it spurred the people into motion. Man, we look so stupid now. Oh boy. You see, they shot the urgent news to the various castles of the land. The letter arrows of Wano cross great distances to send messages. The boiling oil in the pot passed 700 degrees and continued to rise. And you see Lord Oden. Hang in there, Lord Oden. Please, Lord Oden, survive this torment. We're sorry for insulting you. We were ignorant. And you see that the heat's starting to get to Oden as he's looking wearier and wearier. As the crowd shouts out, "Thank you for protecting us, Lord Oden!" Kinamon's like, "Oh, now they care. How convenient for them." He's like, "Ignore them, my lord." Ken's just like, "Thank you all. I will persevere." It's like, he's so appreciative. And you see him still straining under the weight of carrying all the scabbards as he goes, "Listen to me. If I manage to survive this boiling, I would like to open up this country." The citizens are like, "Huh? What's he babbling about?" Well, you see, that's sort of Orochi going, "What's he babbling about?" And you see Kinemon going, "You said that before, my lord, that the Kozuki clan had something to do with their closed policy. What did you learn out there on the great wide sea?" Doden goes, "Long, long ago, Aku." The ones responsible for closing this nation to the rest of the world were the Kozuki clan. What? I'm so surprised! And it was to protect Wano from a great external power. You don't say! Wano, no, the entire world awaits a figure. And when that figure appears after an 800-year span, of course, this country must be prepared to welcome and work with them. I will be clear with you. They're going to kill me today. Thank you. Thank you so much. Please let him die. Oh, poor Okiku. She goes, "No, you can withstand the boiling. You're already a third of the way through." Oden goes, "I want you to open up Wano in my stead." And Denjiro goes, "Then we should join Lord Oden in." And Raizo clamps a hand over his mouth as he goes, "Your dream is our dream." And he goes, "Well said." And you see the clock has 30 minutes left. And it goes, "By this point, it was a hell where even the heat haze was lethal. The boiling oil burned Oden's skin." And Orochi's getting infuriated by this as he goes, "How is he still alive? Raise the heat." But Oden did not die. You see, 10 more minutes. He's like, "Is he impervious to heat or something?" 5 more minutes. "Lord Oden!" 1 more minute. 10 seconds. 3 seconds. 1 second. And you see the clock striking the hours that go, "Yippee! It's a miracle! He survived the execution. Lord Oden did it. He withstood the boiling. Thank goodness! Like Lord Oden's won. He cleared up the misunderstandings. The country's on his side again. You're in for it now, Kaido." And you see Dogstorm and Cat Viper arguing, and this is probably sort of that stupid fight they had why they didn't talk to each other after they got back to Zou. As Dogstorm goes, "Don't wind him up, Cat." And Neko goes, "Why shouldn't I? A win's a win." And you see all the citizens reacting in shock as Orochi's vassals all surround the boiling pot, aiming their guns at him. And Orochi goes, "I changed my mind. I altered the sentence to death by firing squad 1 minute ago. And the entire clan gets put to death too." And you see Yoshira's getting furious at this. He goes, "What kind of childish nonsense?" And you see some of the citizens trying to defend him and going, "That wasn't the deal. Lord Oden upheld the..." And you see Kaido's men turning around, shooting at the citizens. And they go, "Eek!" And Oden goes, "Do it for me. Open Wano's borders." As he heaves the plank off to the side, throws his retainers out of the pot. And they all take off running. And they go, "Run to Kuri!" And Kinemon calls out, "Shinobu!" And you see a crack as Kinemon rips apart his cufflinks. And you see him just tears streaming down his face going, "Don't turn back, guys! We have to do it for Oden!" And you see him thinking back to when Oden first picked them all up with, "That was a fascinating story you just said." And you see, "Kozuki Oden?" And you see Denjiro crying, going, "Lord Oden!" And you see Kaido's and Orochi's forces trying to shoot them, going, "Shoot them all! After them! Wipe them out in the name of Kozuki!" And you see Kaido pulling out this double-barrel pistol as he goes, "Either way, your body is already dead. I'll do you a kindness and put you out of your misery. And now, the age of Kozuki is over for good. You'll all die." And you see Oden giving him a shit-eating grin as he goes, "Don't make the mistake of underestimating our samurai." And you see Kiku running off with thinking, "Lord Oden!" She thinks back to when she and Izo showed up and started eating the Oden. He's like, "I didn't say you could eat. That's our pot of Oden." And you see Kanjuro also crying as they're all flashing back to how they all met Oden to try to bring on the fields. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. You're Oden. Yes, it's just Raizo. You're the boss of Kuryoshura Doji. Oh, look at Oden. He was such a noble guy. Your fear of the alien exposes your own innocence. Oh, I'm so hungry. It's because you lent out all the money. Okay, go steal some food. Is that what a daimyo says? Oh my god, I'm so in the fields, people. I'm so in my fields. I can't even take it anymore. And Kaido goes, "They will speak of you for years to come, saying that you died a spectacular death." And he goes, "They can forget me for all I care. My soul will live on." Kaido's like, "I'm sorry about what happened with the old hag. I had her killed, man." Oden's like, "How upright of you. Build your strength while you can. For I am a story to accompany your drinks. I am Oden, and I was born." And you see him just doing the famous pose. It's the same one Oda did a cover story. It's the same one that was on the old style color space spread. I can't remember what it's called. Does the famous pose, and he goes, "Toki, Momonosuke, Hiyori, I shall be the first to leave." And you see a blam as bullet hits him dead center, and he falls back with a sploosh into the boiling oil. And you see everyone crying out as he falls, "To boil!" With a giant... hold up a second here. With a giant babang. And you see babang babang as you see Oden dying with a smile on his face because he's a D. Do you get it, everyone? He's a D. Oda's trying to tell us he's a D. Did you get it? And you see, and so ended one legend to be carried on by the players of the next stage. And you see the retainer going to Toki and going, "My lady, I've received word of Lord Oden's death. They say it was a tremendous end." And you see Toki opening up a letter going, "Toki, I've reached my limit. If I fail to defeat him, there will be no others who can stop Kaido for a long time." Of course. Oh, of course. I could not imagine a shittier end to this chapter than this. As you go over 20 years ahead of us, there will likely be a massive war, terrible enough to split the seas themselves. In other words, in another 20 years, the primary figures of this great war will muscle their way into the new world. They are the ones who can strike down Kaido. A long winter will settle over Wano. I want you to use your power, Toki. If I should die. And you see her ripping up the letters and sending it flying off in the wind. As you see Toki going to Oden while he's in prison, and he goes, please give the children these swords. And she's like, it sounds dangerous. And he goes, aren't you sad? It's a death sentence. And you can see Toki's apparently trying to put on a brave face as she goes, who said you're going to die? And he goes, wah ha ha, that's my wife. And Toki goes, I'd be a laughing stock if anyone saw me crying. And they go, we are not your weakness. She goes, look ahead, Oden, to 20 years in the future. As you have the story hurtles toward the present day. Next chapter hits March 1st. This... Oh boy, I think I've pissed off already all the trolls and probably a good chunk of One Piece fans with my reaction to this chapter. And I want to say I feel bad about it, but I really don't. Because there's a lot of chapters in One Piece that are bad for various reasons, dislike for, different aspects, whatever. I think this is the first time I've just actively hated an entire chapter because it's just so shitty and such garbage storytelling. I don't even have the words to describe how much I've hated this chapter and how badly it failed at everything it was trying to do. So I'll try to cover over the major points on this, going back kind of recapping it, but I'm not going to go too much into depth on that because my good friend the Black Manga Critic and a couple of others are probably going to be doing a One Piece stream sometime in the near future. So I think I'll save my more coherent, in-depth thoughts for that stream where we can have a more active and lively discussion with some other fans where we kind of try to pin down the biggest missteps Oda made in this flashback. But I'll try to cover at least a few of the basic problem points I had as we go through this little recap. First of all, I want to point out again that we have the whole bit of, women being, young and sexy and fuckable looking, stereotypical image of what you expect an attractive women to look like when they're young. And then as soon as they hit a certain age, Oda's like, all right, I'm going to make them look as unappealing and unattractive as possible and going against all the standards of conventional beauty, because once women reach that age, men are no longer interested in sleeping with them. So what's the point in trying to make them, look anything but dumpy, dressed in crappy ass clothing and things? Because you have Shinobu in this flashback dressed in the exact kind of mini skirt, small dress, ninja outfit that Nami's wearing right now in the present. And as soon as Oda decided, she's 40 now, she's no longer fuckable, no one wants to look at her like that, I guess I'll dress her up in, a robe and put a hood on her, because, she's obviously going to change outfits for no reason when she reaches that age. But that's an absolutely minor complaint with regards to this chapter. But we literally have Oda rehashing elements of Dressrosa and Alabasta, where you have a villain taking over and turning the entire country, the nation and his people, against the rightful and just ruler of the land, through underhanded tactics, by making them look like incompetent, apathetic assholes, and then them positioning themselves as, the solution to the problem, the actual just and noble person. And you have Oda rehashing that exact same plot in this one. And I was talking to a friend the other day, and we're joking about how Otto's flashback is basically like Dressrosa's flashback. And I jokingly mentioned it's pretty much the same, except you don't have a convenient devil fruit power that can erase people's memories so they forget all about this. And we literally have that, where you have someone going, oh my god, guys, here's what's been actually happening. And the citizens are all just like, what? I didn't know about all this. And just flipping around. Except unlike Dressrosa, we have no emotional attachment or investment to any of the scabbards or to Oden. Oda didn't establish an emotional connection between them and the people of Wano. So when you suddenly have them doing this 180-degree turn in support where they go from, decrying Oden as, this asshole, this guy that doesn't follow the cultural norms of Wano, this guy's basically a black sheep and has been misunderstood this entire time. And you suddenly have them on a whim just turning around being like, oh my god, I can't believe we were wrong about him this entire time. It falls so flat when Oda's just going through the motions being like, yeah, if I just mix in all these elements from these other chapters, from these other arcs, the people are emotionally invested in and liked, that's good enough to get a reaction out of them, right? And when you do stuff like that, when you think that all storytelling is just mixing together, different tropes and themes and character motivations and archetypes and all that, you just mix it together and you just vomit it out onto a page. This is what you get, is just this lackluster clusterfuck of a chapter, which is just makes me more infuriated the more I read this. And then, the most annoying aspect of all of this, like, I could forgive a lot of this if Oda had at least spent some time telling us why exactly Oden wants to open up the borders of Wano. What's the importance of it? What's the significance of Wano rejoining the world at large? But he has this, I don't want to, it seems like he has this need to constantly feel like, treating One Piece readers like they're junkies chasing another high, where he tempts you and teases you with, oh, you want that next taste? Oh, you want that? Oh, well, I'm going to feed it to you. I'm actually going to borrow my good friend, Black Manga Critics, words here where he says it's like a Scooby snack, with Shaggy and Scooby, where the rest of the gang tricks them into doing dangerous things, the promise of a reward at the end, the carrot on a stick, the Scooby snack. And that's what Oda's doing here, where he's like, oh, I'm going to set up all these mysteries and this intrigue, and, you're going to have to keep reading and paying attention if you want to eventually get the answer to it. And there's nothing fundamentally wrong with being like, wanting to set up mysteries to keep readers engaged and invested in the story. But if that's the only thing you think that your readers are invested in or will be engaged with in a story, that's when it starts falling flat. And when you start sacrificing character development, character growth, character relationships, and emotional investment in an arc, and you try to just fortify it with the empty promises of, oh, well, we'll get to this big reveal about what the mystery is. And the best example of that is this stupid shit where Oden's going, oh, Wano had this big enemy. Oh, I wonder who that was. Oh, I can't possibly imagine who that big enemy could be. Oh, the ones that are pulling all the strings. Such a mystery at this point. 972 chapters into this series. Oh, I wonder if anyone's going to figure out who the big enemy is. Oh, surprise. Like, it's so obvious who it is, and Oda trying to cock tease the readers with it is just bullshitty and infuriating, because it really is. He's acting like, we are toddlers that somehow need this and can be bought off with such a cheap ploy of trying to build this mystery that's not really a mystery, along with this stupid bullcrap of, oh, there's going to be a figure that appears. Oh, he's going to save all of us. He's going to be the chosen one. Oh, do you know who that is? Like, we all know as readers who he's talking about. We know what he's talking about. And unless it's going to be a huge mystery reveal, he's going to be like, oh no, man, I wasn't talking about Luffy. I meant Captain Morgan was the actual, chosen one, the destined hero and all that. It's really, really insulting to a reader's intelligence for him to play this game this far into the series. And so like that was one of the biggest things that pissed me off this chapter is him just trying to pull that stunt again and again and again, and it is tiring at this point. The last, well, I guess a couple of last points I want to point out while we're into this is Kaido suddenly now turning around and being honorable, because there's this huge debate when the chapter first dropped of Kaido versus Oden, and people being like, oh, how could Oden have defeated Kaido? And other people going like, oh, Kaido's used such cheap tactics. Oh, I hate that guy, blah, blah, blah. And people pointing out, well, he's a pirate. And like Shanks said in the first chapter of the series, pirates don't play by the rules because they're not good guys. Ignoring everything else, ignoring the fact that Kaido is really just such a one-dimensional stereotype at this point. He's the big, beefy bouncer with the drinking problem, which I know we'll probably get into the whole tragic backstory of why he's a drunk and why he's this and why we should feel so sad for him. But I'd be all fine with all of that. I'd be fine. Let me rephrase that. I don't mind the fact that Oda's like, oh, well, even though he is all this, he is a pirate. He's not going to play fair. He's going to play dirty. That's all fine. But then Oda seems to have this need to justify how everyone in the series is, honorable, or has to respond to honorable people by honoring them back and being like, oh, well, you have to respect Kaido because he decided to respect Oden and give him, a warrior's death and respect him when he finally passed on. And it's so dumb. And that brings me to the second biggest issue I guess I have with this, where we then get the reveal where Kaido's like, oh, yeah, I killed the old lady, the Orochi's, supposed grandmother from the Kurozumi clan, the very same clan that he's apparently ready to destroy Wano for because how everyone persecuted them, all that. Kaido just killed her out of hand. And again, I don't really care too much about that, except for the old lady being a convenient plot device, and once again, another rehashed element of an arc where it was done much, much better with Alabasta, with Bon Clay, playing the role of the infiltrator. You have this old lady whose sole purpose in this arc thus far, pending anything to be revealed later, which I'm not factoring into this because it's still crappy writing, whose entire role was to come in, make Oden look bad, and then immediately die a couple of chapters later. As soon as she served her purpose as a plot device, Oda's like, well, I don't need her anymore, and I need to tie up this loose end of how Bon Clay got her fruit, so I guess Kaido will just kill her and that'll be done with it. Which leads me to the very last point, which pissed me off. I had one singular hope for Toki as a character, even though, all of Oda's history with how he writes women was working against him. I had the one hope that despite everything else everything else that he's done shittily with Toki, we'd at least get the reveal that, that Toki had, was born with observation haki, was potentially able to see the future, and she was the one that said, foresaw that even though Oden was going to die today, that, he would be avenged in 20 years, etc. And Oda could not even give her that, where it turns out that no, Oden was the one that apparently saw the future vision, probably through his voice of all the things or whatever crap, and he was the one that told Toki, hey, you gotta send these guys conveniently 20 years into the future, because that's where our saviors will be. Oh, here's a roadmap for exactly what you need to do. And then we have another woman in this arc being used as a convenient plot device where she comes in and goes, oh, I have time traveling powers. Isn't that a surprise? Time travel's possible in One Piece now. And then all she's there for is to support Oden and tell us how great he is and how awesome he is and how much she loves him and send the scabbards ahead to the future so she can get killed and tossed aside because, women have nothing better to do than serve the narratives of men. And once they've done that, well, they don't really have a purpose now, do they? So that pissed me off almost as much as everything else in the chapter. I think this was the extra nail in the coffin where Oda brings in this character and he introduces her by going, oh, she's from 800 years in the future. She possibly knows a lot of things about the Void Century. She can answer a lot of the big mysteries about the series. But fuck all that. I'm just going to kill her because I need her to have a plot convenient device. And yeah, she'll somehow just knowingly somehow know that she has to go 800 or so years into the future, even though she doesn't have any special powers, and then she'll be used and tossed aside. Well, like I said, I've ranted long enough about all of this, and the longer I sit here thinking about it, the angrier I'm gonna get. So I'm gonna cut it off there. And like I said, a couple of friends and I are going to do a stream about this. So we will talk in depth about all our problems with this narrative, with Oden, and with Wano so far, and really why it's been the most lackluster arc in all of in the entire series thus far, at least in my opinion. Before anyone starts coming in to tell me about how they really love it, blah blah blah. So I'll start writing up some notes and some analysis talking about all my problems, and I'll bring it together in a cohesive way. So I can lay it out all in one video, lay out exactly what all my problems are with it in one video. So look forward to that. Hopefully it should be a good discussion. I'm looking forward to it. And until next time, this is Ash. I will talk to you all later.